Okay, let me put some questions to you about your latest complete project. I use the word complete because a lot of artists working within this industry are notorious for leaving things incomplete.
No, you never know. There might be DAWNRAZOR. There might be DAWNRAZOR the special edition coming out at some point, but at the moment it's complete. Yeah.
So your latest complete project is the movie DAWNRAZOR. Now, I've frequently heard you say that the script for a film, in your opinion, really forms the spine of the production, the backbone. Would you still maintain that?
Yeah, I mean, even now, a year on, I look at it and cringe sometimes, thinking, God, I wish I could have done that differently, and I wish I could have done that differently. Yeah, the script was in place before we'd even cast our crew. You can't be casting your crew and get anything set up without the script. Now, major Hollywood movies have scripts changing right up until the last minute, which is really not the way to do things. A classic example was on the film Star Trek 3, which is one of the Star Trek movies where the Enterprise gets blown up, and the crew they actually took that out of the script, so the cast were not aware that was going to happen. Now, as an actor, how can you work towards a thing and get the right emotional level, not knowing what's going to happen? And I actually did complain about that, and I thought that was very bizarre.
Very, very strange.
Yeah. So, you need that whole script.
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah.
They're actors, they're not Star Trek fans, they're actors.
That's it. Now, how long literally did it take from the very first idea for DAWNRAZOR up until the last session of post-production to film it, to complete the whole project?
Okay, right, if you want to really go into detail here, DAWNRAZOR originated from 2 original scripts I had back in the early 90s, which were partially shot. I shot about 10 minutes of each. One was called The Free Man, about a new age action hero. Sounds naff now. And another one called Beyonder, which was always mystical, good versus evil. And DAWNRAZOR has come originally from those 2 scripts, elements from those scripts back from sort of 10 years ago. But if you're talking about actually DAWNRAZOR as a product, I started it in February last year. Pre-production started in February, started writing the script, and we started shooting on end of July 2001 for 6 days.
Right. And when was it finished?
It was finished, it took me, I had a slight technical problem. Basically my computer wasn't up for it. I realised I have Windows 98. Windows 98 is no good for linear editing.
Really?
Can't handle it. It can't handle digital technology. You need to upgrade to Windows 98 second edition or anything after that. So I had to upgrade to Windows ME, Millennium Edition. So that took about 4 or 5 months out of the editing process. I did sample edits on analog, and I started editing properly about March and finished it about end of May. So about 2-3 months.
Right. Right. Okay. Now, looking at ratios, what percentage of time did you spend actually filming on location? Setting gear up. Compared to how much time you spent on post-production? I mean, are we talking about 20% time on post-production or 40%? You have no
clue. No, I didn't really do it. I think a lot of people actually will give you your ratios because, like anything, we got on set about 8:30 before the actors arrive. We had pretty quick setups, except for the cabin scenes we had shot underground. That took a little bit longer to set up.
What location did you use for that?
I used in a place called Banstead Place Hospital, 3 miles from here, and under a local amateur society, amateur drama society, keep their costumes down there. And I knew these guys, and I said to them, I literally found it by chance. One of those wonderful times I walked down and thought, wow. The problem was there were loads and loads of costumes down there. It would have been physically impossible to move every single costume out. It was not practical. I didn't have the manpower to do that. So we basically dressed the set while we were shooting on location at the beginning of the week, because all the cabin scenes were at the end of the week. My art director went down there, started clearing out as much as he could and build the set. So he had 3 days to get the set ready.
Right.
Ideally, I'd like to have got all the costumes out, but that would have taken a month. So you've got to look at the practicality of it all.
Absolutely.
But when we were down there, we had to be very careful with health and safety and things like that.
I see. So how many in total were the members of both cast and crew?
We had about...
Obviously it varies on every day, but at most.
On the most day, which was probably Friday and Saturday, we had about 18 cast members. No, sorry, 15 cast members and about between 8 and 10 crew.
That's quite, I mean, for an independent film, that's quite a big amount of production
Yeah.
crew, isn't it? When you think that Blair Witch, as you say, had, you know, sort of 3 people in it, pretty much for the duration, apart from a couple of extras that they had, you know, at the beginning, and also the other one, Last Broadcast, was pretty much those two fellas that motivated the thing. But it was all friends and that. But I can't imagine it was many more than 18 on either of those.
I mean, especially when we were shooting out in the sort of suburbs of Surrey, and a lot of people coming down from London, so you had to coordinate that very well.
Right.
I kept them running back and forth from the train station, picking people up.
Right.
On the Wednesday shoot, which I'd never do again, I had to go and pick somebody up from the station and leave my DOP to direct the scene. All right, luckily he's a very competent director, and I worked with him a lot. I worked on his film, but that's not really the way I should be doing things. I didn't have any runners. I had 2 runners who were confirmed on the Sunday night,
Right.
and they didn't turn up.
I see.
But that's the joys of filmmaking, I'm afraid.
Right. Yeah. Now, when you're making a film like that, do you find your role fluctuating between, say, directing photography, getting the lighting right, etc.? Do you find that you do always inevitably end up adopting all these different roles, whether you like it or not?
Well, yeah. I mean, I had the people in place to do that.
But through being a perfectionist, you probably
but
find
I had
that
to get it right. I mean, I learned a lot. I used DAWNRAZOR as a learning curve. I mean, effectively, I produced it, directed it, wrote it, and edited it,
Good
and
stuff.
had a cameo. My friend co-wrote the end, who's my producer, who, because of family commitments, wasn't on set as much as I'd like to be on set, which did cause a few problems. But yeah, I mean, I have to sort of be adaptable to everything.
So you're the quarterback, really, of the
Yeah.
movie, right? And is that because you're a perfectionist? You like to get involved with all of those things because there's no way you're going to let anybody else.
Absolutely,
touch
but even
that.
at the same time, I have people involved who are very, very experienced. So I'm not going to sort of tell them how to do their jobs when they've been doing it for a good couple of years. So yeah, but yeah, you need to sort of learn what they are doing and how they're doing it.
That's right.
But yeah, I have the final say so.
So do you ever actually have a crew that you're content with?
Yeah, I was very content with the crew and
Good,
DAWNRAZOR.
good stuff.
Very content. Hence why I'm using a lot of them again, and the actors again in the next one.
Right. And now, what do you do about music soundtracks in your film? Do you have a problem with copyright laws? Are they strict?
I've never used them. I'm fortunate enough to know 2 musicians, so I get original music, which I talked to you about tonight.
Yes.
Music was composed by Richard Taylor, who's my producer I've known for 30 years, and also the main flux of the music was composed by a chap called Michael Ray.
Right.
So no.
Now this is a question I've often wanted to ask a movie director. I've heard you say before that producing trailers is as much a pleasure and indeed a work of art to you as movie making itself, and I would definitely agree with you on that. But to pose an interesting question, do you ever film scenes within your film, or put scenes into your film solely because you know that they will look good on the trailer afterwards? And
Yes.
I thought you probably did.
Yes.
There's so many things that you see like that from
Yeah.
every end of the spectrum in filmmaking. You see that, and so basically they're consequently garnishing the film with selling power.
Yeah. I mean, there's one scene where Cole, the main character, turns to the camera. He's had a scene talking to Amanda, and he says, "Welcome to the world of shadows." And although it was a very relevant line, he got a laugh at the screening, but it was also because I wanted that on the trailer.
Exactly.
Yeah, I wanted that on the trailer.
Right.
So yes, you occasionally do that.
So even to the detriment of the film overall, you think that filmmakers do put that sort of thing in. Not that is, but in a lot of films you do see that sort of thing, don't
Absolutely, yeah. Or sometimes like, Godzilla, for example, they filmed a whole sound, and Spider-Man even, filmed a whole trailer that had nothing to do with the film. It was shot separately, so that, especially with a big budget.
Wow, see that is an extreme example.
The good thing about that, you're not giving any of the film away,
Right.
which I think is very clever.
Well, that's true, absolutely. Because I think a lot of trailers that you see, they tend to sort of start at the beginning of the film, they go right through the whole thing. And if you've got a kind of mind which enjoys a storyline more than special effects, it's pretty much erased the prospect of you enjoying it.
Yeah, very much so.
They show you like the whole film. So now, you mentioned before about you've got a composer you actually work with, apart from Michael Ray. Is there somebody that you're in contact with who does composing stuff for music?
Yeah, Richie. He composed music for 3 of my films.
Okay.
2 that didn't get finished, and one my first complete movie that he did back in '93.
Okay. Finally, I must just ask you the title. Where did you get the title from again?
DAWNRAZOR.
DAWNRAZOR.
I made it up. I actually got it from an album from 1987 by a goth band called Fields of the Nephilim. And only 2 people have picked it up so far. They think, hang on, I remember that title. It's just a great title.
Yeah.
Great title.
Now, the last event which you were involved in was the Sutton Short Film Festival, which you organised and hosted. You showed over 20 pieces of work at that event and had the press invited. And that seems to me in particular that events like that are sorely lacking in frequency and hard to find. Do you think they're too few?
In the home counties, yeah. Go up to London, you can get a film festival every week, especially around Brixton, North London. But the reason, basically what it started off as was a screening for DAWNRAZOR, and it elevated from there, thinking, well, let's I've hired the theatre, I don't want to hire a theatre for just half an hour, so let's sort of expand it. So I thought, let's make it into a film festival, opened up for submissions, got some great movies through, a lot of people came down for networking, great coverage in the paper, and there's a double page spread in the Sutton Borough Guardian this week. It might also be in the Croydon Garden, which is a free paper, so there's a nice article there. So yeah, there's a lot of coverage, especially by the press, local press and so on.
Good.
So it was, yeah, it was very interesting. I mean, I probably look at it and think, oh, I did that differently and I do that differently.
Yes.
But no, it was I think a success. We sold out, which was always good.
Fantastic. Mr. Mark English, wish you all the best in the future and thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Mark English. Good. That was great fun, man.
Enjoyed that.